last class of Sefer HaMitzvos. So thank you so much if you've joined me for any or all of this study. You should be blessed, and you should be strengthened as we've studied through the mitzvahs of the Torah, and basically just hitting on all the topics of Torah during this time. Tonight we have 5 mitzvahs to cover. Positive mitzvah 187, negative 49, positive 188, positive 189, and negative 59. These are all difficult mitzvahs. I'm going to call it out right here at the beginning. These are difficult ones because they are not what we would say be like politically correct nowadays. And please don't report the video. We're just reporting on what's in the Torah here, and let's work through it. If it's difficult, let's work through it. So these are laws related to the 7 nations of Canaan, the wicked, evil nations of Canaan. They no longer exist, so don't worry, we're not going after anybody now. And they were idolatrous. They sacrificed their children to idols. They did all kinds of wicked things, and also for Amalek. Amalek, it was a very wicked, hateful nation that attacked Israel on coming out of the land of Israel, and they attacked the weak and the old, the infirmed, and tried to defeat Israel by starting with the weakest first. And so that's who these mitzvahs are related to. First of all, positive mitzvah 187, the 187th mitzvah that we're commanded, is to destroy the 7 nations of Canaan. Because they were the prime worshipers and original source of idolatry. And like I said, they were a very wicked nation that indoctrinated their children in all kinds of wicked things. And so the God's statement in Deuteronomy 20:17 says you must wipe them out completely. And the Bible explains the reason for this commandment is to keep us from learning from them, their ways. So there are many verses that relate to them, waging war against them, and this is something that thank you, and I believe that. So the mitzvah, or the command to go to war with the 7 nations of Canaan, is a milchemes mitzvah, a mitzvah war, a command war, and there's there are three reasons for commanded wars in the Bible. One of them is the 7 nations, or actually there's more than that. There's then to take out the nation of Amalek, and various other mitzvahs to establish the borders of Israel, which was done, in the days of the kings in the Bible, and to if there's an invading nation coming into Israel, etc. And thank you so much. So those are wars that were commanded in the Bible. There are such things as other types of wars that a king could do, but they had to get approval from the Sanhedrin to do it, just like a king or a president has to get approval from the Congress nowadays here for certain types of wars. That's the way it worked also in the days of the kings. So next is negative commandment 49. This is the prohibition that we're forbidden from following any individual, or excuse me, allowing any individual from the 7 nations to live. Again, I told you these are difficult mitzvahs because they come against our inclination for passion, and this included even King Saul. Remember, he allowed King Agag to live, who was from the nation of Amalek. So slightly different than the mitzvah than we're talking about now, but you can see like he had compassion, but he had been commanded otherwise. That's a lot of times that's what the commandments come for, is because they go against what we might naturally be inclined to do. And so, in any case, so this comes from God's statement in Deuteronomy 20, verse 16, that says, "Don't allow a single soul to live." But now the people were warned, and to say you need to leave, or else you'll be wiped out, and they had the option to flee, to leave, to abandon their nation, to go into other nations, etc. They could have even converted. So there were other options from them, but if they stood against the nation of Israel, and that's how most of them went, they would be wiped out. Positive commandment 188. This is the mitzvah that we're commanded from among all the descendants of Esav, the descendants of Amalek, to be wiped out. This has happened as far as I'm aware, but I don't know of anybody who's a descendant of Amalek. But this is ultimately the one of the things that the Messiah needs to do, is wipe out the memory of Amalek, and so again, this I mentioned the story of Agag, and he was the the king of Amalek. Remember Samuel, if you read the books of Samuel, that he ended up executing the wicked king Agag of Amalek for what they did to the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Israel, or excuse me, came out of Egypt. Amalek attacked and attacked the weak as they were coming out of Egypt, out of slavery. And there was this big battle. This is the one that Moses raised his arms, and the battle went the way of the children of Israel when his hands were raised. And so anyway, so Samuel wiped him out. Now, that was before the descendant of him, who was Haman. Haman was the wicked man who tried to wipe out the nation of Israel when they were in Persia, and we can read about this in the book of Esther. Haman was a descendant of Agag. It says in the book of Esther that Haman was an Agagite, a descendant of Agag. So because of the compassion of King Saul on Agag, the nation of Israel was almost wiped out later on because they didn't listen. He didn't listen to Hashem, to God, and to his command. So Hashem knows, God knows what's good, And even if if it rubs up against us, it's what's right. But again, these nations, as far as we know, there's, I don't know that you can point to anybody who was a member of Amalek today, or a member of the seven nations. So while these commands may not be something that we can fulfill today, the commands are nevertheless eternal. And in a spiritual sense, there are others who are spiritually associated with this, what I would say is like a spirit of Amalek. This people who want the same goals that Amalek had, and ultimately they must be defeated. Either they're for real when the Messiah comes, when the nations come up in the battle of Gog and Magog, or the battle of Armageddon, if you prefer. These things will take place. So it's good to make sure that we're all on the right side here. All right, positive commandment 189. The positive commandment 189 is that we're commanded to constantly remember what Amalek did to us. And we do this through through things, prayers, etc., that exist, and so we remember what Amalek did after we were redeemed from Egypt. To speak of it constantly, not maybe all the time, but to have it be something that we remember vocally, and we even have a mitzvah to we're supposed to listen to the section telling us about what Amalek did and how we're supposed to remember about this in the Torah readings. So this comes from God's statement. Deuteronomy 25:17 says, "Remember what Amalek did to you. Do not forget." So that is a positive mitzvah, thou shalt do. So Sefer says, the phrase, "remember what Amalek did to you," refers to doing so verbally. The phrase, "do not forget," means in your heart. This means that one should say verbally the words that cause people to keep this feeling toward Amalek in their hearts. The Sefer says from the verse, "remember what Amalek did to you," you might think that it means in your heart. But when it says, "do not forget," that you might think, remember what Amalek did to you, you might think that means in your heart, but when it says, "do not forget," that means in your heart. How do we explain the commandment to remember? It means to speak it out verbally. And you can see how the prophet Samuel went about fulfilling this commandment. First, he remembered them verbally, and then commanded that they be wiped out. This was done when he said, "I remember what Amalek did to the Jewish people when they came out of Egypt." And that's from Samuel, 1 Samuel 15, verse 2. Finally, negative commandment 59. The 59th prohibition, that thou shalt not, is that we're forbidden for forgetting what the descendants of Amalek did to us. That they were the first to attack us when we were redeemed from Egypt. We explained that remembering what the descendants of Amalek did to us and constantly renewing our feelings toward them for such an action is a positive commandment. Similarly, we're forbidden from ignoring it and forgetting about it, and it is an actual prohibition. So whether or not there are actual people who fit the seven nations, or people who fit Amalek today, to my knowledge, I don't know that we can point to anyone. But that doesn't make the commandment not an eternal commandment just because because there's something preventing us from doing it. It's still an eternal commandment in the Torah. So the source of this prohibition comes from Deuteronomy 25:19, which says, "Do not forget." And Sefer says, "Remember." This means verbally. "Do not forget" means in one's heart. This means that you should not ignore this feeling toward him, negative feeling toward him, nor remove it from your heart. One of the few times that we're told not to love someone, whereas in every other case we're told to love. This hatred that they had toward us, and they tried to wipe us out. We're not permitted scripturally to forgive them from that. And that will ultimately be the Messiah that brings about the fulfillment of that mitzvah, just like it was always the kings that did it, other than Samuel, because King Saul would not act as he was supposed to do. This is one of the things that a king of Israel is supposed to do. They have the mitzvah to subdue the land, like to take the land from any other people who were trying to take it. They're supposed to build the temple, but before they build the temple, the kings of Israel are supposed to wipe out Amalek. And so this is one of the things that the Messiah will do, and that's something you can count on, that the Messiah will do that. It's one of his obligations. You can't claim the title of Amalek if you are never going to do that. So the Messiah, and I know that Yahir believes that he has identified the Messiah. I believe so too. And so Yahir, these are things that the Messiah is going to do. And yeah, so where is he? Where is the Messiah? He's in the bird's nest. That's a Jewish way of saying, he's waiting. He's in the quiver, so to speak, waiting to be launched toward us. To all that we have to do for the coming of Messiah is to hear his voice, and he will be here. So each of us should hear his voice, and we should all see his coming, and see his glorious appearing, so to speak, of the Messiah soon and in our days. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful night. God bless. And there's no problem. I don't know what this is. What do you mean there's no problem? There's all kinds of problems in the world that the Messiah needs to fix. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great night. God bless.